Hello and welcome to the Top Agent Podcast. My name is Costa and I chat with top industry leaders in real estate to discuss their successes, tips, and marketing strategies. This podcast series is brought to you by Web for Realty, the leading provider in real estate marketing tools to grow your business. If you're looking to attract leads, build relationships, and close more deals, go to webforrealty.com to learn more. I'm so excited to share this episode. I'm speaking with Jas Takhar, a realtor from the Toronto area. Jas is the co-founder and managing partner of the REC team. They're the number one real estate team in Royal LePage in all of Canada. They collectively completed over 700 transactions in 2019. And the crazy thing is, it seems like they're just getting started. Jas is very unique in his approach to real estate and marketing. His entire marketing strategy is through content generation. Him and his team put out at least 15 pieces of content every single day in the form of posts, videos, images, podcasts, you name it. I love how Jas is all about providing value to people. He genuinely wants to help and provide value in any way he can. And that's what really makes him stand out compared to others, which is truly amazing. And I think the listeners to this episode will definitely get a sense of that right away. So enough of the intro. I really want to dive into it. Here's my chat with Jas Takhar. All right, Jas, thank you so much for joining me on the Top Agent Podcast. I was really excited for you to be here.
Thank you for having me, Costa. Really appreciate it, man. And I love the name of the podcast, Top Agent Podcast. So I guess I'm lucky enough to be a top agent, so I appreciate that.
100%. So you're the co-founder of the REC team, which is the number one Royal LePage team in Canada. Is that correct?
Yeah, so we're under the Royal LePage banner. So there's 18,000 realtors right across the country. It's Royal LePage has been around for coming up to a little over 110 years now. A.E. LePage started this, and myself and my business partner, Simeon Papayilias, him and I have a team of 25 realtors and 10 support staff. And last year in 2019, we were awarded the number one team in the country. And so we did a little over 700, we helped over 700 buyers, sellers, and investors last year.
That's huge, man. Congratulations. That's quite the achievement.
Now, it's been 15 years in the making. So this is not we're definitely not an overnight success. It takes a lot of time, patience, and hard work.
Absolutely. So there's a lot I want to ask you, a lot I want to get into, but do you mind just kicking things off by just telling the audience a bit about yourself and how you got into real estate?
Yeah, look, I love long walks on the beach, and no, I'm playing. I, as a 12-year-old, knew that I probably wasn't going to stick with school for a very long time. I couldn't wait to get out of class or come into the classroom, ask the teacher to leave and for the washroom and probably not come back. Started off with a paper route at a young age. Then I went into a co-op program at a local store here in Toronto called Sporting Life. There's now probably 4 or 5 of these stores, but it was a family-run store, and they weren't based on commission, so they took product knowledge and customer service very, very seriously. In fact, every day before our shift, a partner like Nike or Adidas, someone came in and gave us some type of product knowledge, or they brought in people from a customer service perspective. So I started to learn the importance of customer service. At that time, I was probably 16 years old, like grade 11, grade 12. And then after that, I went into banking as a sales and service specialist. So at the time, it was just at the start of online banking / telephone banking. Went into car sales for 2.5, 3 years. And I always wanted to get into real estate, invest into real estate. I actually went in and got my license thinking they were going to teach me how to invest. I quickly learned it's more of a course so you don't get sued, which is obviously important as a registered broker. And then I got into the business 15 years ago and never looked back.
That's amazing. All right. So number one Royal LePage team in Canada for 2019. Like, was that always the goal, like the ambition, or was that accomplishment just simply like the outcome of your execution and like where the chips just happened to lay?
A little bit of both. We definitely, when we came on to Royal LePage about 11 years ago, so REC stands for Real Estate Center. We had our own brokerage. I say we, it was myself, Simeon, and a third partner who's now passed away about 2.5 years ago. We had our own brokerage, the Real Estate Center. Got to Royal LePage about 11 years ago. At that time, when we came to Royal LePage, we were number 39. So like that's where statistically they would have put us at that time out of the 18, probably 17,000 at that time. And so obviously the goal was always to become number one within our organization. Our major goal is to be number one in the world. I mean, we like to think big. We want to be the biggest brokerage. However, keeping our culture still very much intact. To your point, is that where the chips kind of just started to lay themselves out? Yes, for sure. It took us about 2 years to get from 39 to 22 or 23. Then we flirted around 15 to about 7 for 7 years. Where we were kind of moving back and forth from 15 to 7th. It's a very competitive organization. 2018, we were number 3, and we were like, look, this is right around the corner now. We just need to push ourselves a little bit more. Our team of 25 realtors, they really are second to none in the Greater Toronto market. They go at it every single day. 6-7 days a week. They have clients that are very, very loyal and supportive, and we awarded number 1 last year.
Huge. That's amazing. So that's interesting. I want to talk about like the execution part of it all. So a lot of your content that you put out, like you obviously incorporate like real estate into it, of course, but it's not all about real estate. And, you know, this is something I say all the time to realtors on this podcast and to my clients and stuff is like, a big mistake that I see a lot of realtors make is that all the content they put out is just about listings and the market and like what they just sold or like what they're currently listing, which is great. But the reality is like most people that are consuming that content, like don't really care about that. Like most people aren't currently in the market to buy or sell like right now.
Yeah, I think we as consumers, and look, we as realtors are also consumers for other industries. And I don't know what the last stat is, but about 5 years ago, somebody from, I don't know if it was Harvard or Yale, came out with a stat that we, as the general public, get about 10,000 marketing messages every single day. Our brain is quite good at filtering out a lot of these marketing messages. And so if all you're doing, in my opinion, as a realtor coming out with just listed, just sold, it will start to get a little bit boring and something that not everybody's going to want to see all the time, especially if they're not even thinking about being in the market. And so about a little over 20 months or 22 months, we started a massive campaign of and vision of becoming the authority through branding. And so high level was, we're just going to talk. And I kind of became the face of it, where I'm going to talk about everything that I like. Well, what do I like? I like building businesses. I like building team culture. I like leadership because, as I mentioned about school, I don't have a formal education. So I learned through audiobooks and podcasts and listening to guys like Tony Robbins and Jack Canfield, and the list goes on and on. And I said, look, I'm gonna sit down and talk to leaders in not only our industry, but all walks of life, and allow the public to be a fly on the wall of these conversations that we're having. What started to happen is I started to connect with people on a different level. It no longer was about real estate. So if you're listening or watching this podcast right now, guys and gals, I would strongly, strongly recommend start talking. And I don't care if it's about root beer, the Leafs, the Raptors, fashion, cars, whatever it is, because people that are interested in those similar topics will start to connect with you. And this business is all about meeting people. So from a higher level, wherever you can meet people, that's a good thing. And then the byproduct becomes real estate or mortgage or insurance or whatever car sales, whatever you're trying to sell, or whatever product or service you're trying to sell.
Totally right. I totally agree. And, I think, again, back to what you just said earlier about, I think the best marketers nowadays and real estate agents or realtors, they're, you're a marketing company at the end of the day. And like, you got to be able to understand human behavior and like what resonates with people. And you're right. If you just keep doing like the same old, like just listed, just sold, like that it becomes annoying for people after some time. So yeah, I like what you said there. Just start talking about any of your interests, and that definitely will connect with people.
And Cussel, look, man, add in the real estate stuff, but maybe don't make it always so promotional, like all about you. And this is really going back to real estate ads, going back to 50, 60 years ago. Really, once realtors started marketing even in newspapers, you'll notice that the picture of the house is this small, but the picture of the agent is this big.
Yeah.
You're there to sell the home and help people buy, sell, or invest. And so some of the content that you can speak about is, how does somebody buy a home? What are the costs? What's involved in selling a home? How does someone invest? And what we started to do, and guys, this is very easy for you to do as well, is if you think about it from the perspective of teaching people how to do it on their own, 98% of the time, they'll never do it on their own. Like, for example, if you teach people how to sell their own home, we in Canada know that the national statistic is only 2% of people sell their home through like for sale by owner sites or like really discount brokerages. At the end of the day, they're going to look at who was the one that was giving me the advice the whole time. I always tell a funny story that if my car broke down, I probably, in all honesty, have no passion in fixing a spark plug or fixing or changing the oil or even changing the tire. I might leave the car there and just call my car salesman who gives me a lot of value and say, hey, buddy, hook me up with a new car. I left mine in the middle of 401. I have no passion in fixing anything, right?
Yeah, for sure. No, that makes a lot of sense. So I want to try and unpack that a little bit. So your team sold, you said 700 transactions in 2019.
700 transactions. So approximately 275 to 300 were with investors. We're a very investor-focused firm. In fact, myself, that's what I primarily focus on. So when my cousin or my brother or my uncle calls and says they want to sell their home, someone on my team would be able to take care of them.
Okay, perfect. So yeah, 700 transactions, investment focus, like you said, that's crazy. I want to try and like reverse engineer that for our audience. Like, so to be involved with that many deals, obviously you have to have a lot of prospects and leads just flow through your funnel and your pipeline and just have a big enough reach. We know a significant part, if not, I don't know, all of your marketing strategy is content driven and like producing content.
Bang on.
Talk about that. Talk about your marketing strategy, particularly on the content side of things, and how you see an actual ROI from producing all this content.
Yeah, so we for the last 15 years have been in the process of building a quite extensive and qualified not only investor list, but just a list of people that want to stay in touch with us. We've always practiced what we call permission-based marketing. It's a phenomenal book by none other than really the top guy in marketing, which is Seth Godin. Pick up his book. It's a phenomenal book. So we don't spam anyone. We always ask people the question, hey, are you okay with giving us your opinion on the marketing we're doing? And 99.9% of people will say yes. And over time, we've built a list of now a little over 5,000 people that say, yes, you can email us a couple of times a month and give us a call every quarter just to check in on us. And so along that 15 years, what we started to do a lot of is in events. So we would invite people to events and teach them how to invest into real estate, how to sell their own home, how to buy their own home. We came out with a guide that's right behind me. And if any one of your listeners or viewers want it, make sure that it's a free book. It teaches people. There's a chapter in there how to sell your own home. So we give away all the value up front. And 2 years ago, we started the podcast. And so the podcast, and because you asked what's the return on the investment, really, it really comes down to, it gave our REC insiders, that number of a little over 5,000, something to talk about to people that they knew. Because they already trusted us in some manner. They either said they've either used our service to buy, sell, or invest, or even help them from a renting perspective or renting out one of their properties. Or what now it gave them the artillery to, when they speak to their cousin Charlie, hey, go check out REC. It's an easy way to get free information. And that was through our content.
Love it. Love it. Do you talk about like just providing value and like opening up your playbook essentially? Are you cautious or like worried of your competitors just like taking, what you're putting out and copying your playbook essentially?
No, look, like this book, it took, I don't know, years for us to put it together. We change it every year or so because rules change. If there's an agent listening or watching, just give us a call. We'll mail it out to you. I don't care where you are in the world. And you can literally take it and reword it and reuse it. Because here's the thing, I learned a long time ago. First of all, there's going to be thousands and thousands of people listening to this and watching. Only one or two are ever going to do what I said to do, right? Like no one's going to put in the time. However, someone,
yeah,
you know that, Carl. Like you've been.
That's where I was getting at. That's what I was sort of getting at, because like I know the same thing. It's like you provide all this value, show people exactly what you're doing, but like you said, most people are just consumers at the end of the day. Like they're not going to actually execute on.
My 25 realtors. Out of my 25 realtors, there's only 5 or 7 that have actually even printed this book. I've literally packaged it up for them, and it cost them $3.38. Okay, to print, and $1.50 to mail out. Okay, with the packaging, and my own team hasn't used it yet, right? Because so it just goes to show that I know most people are not going to do it. Also, on top of that, I have such tunnel vision that I'm only thinking about what we can do better, what we do well, and what we can do better. What the competition does, I know there's people doing more than us, but I also know there's people doing less than us. I don't spend. Actually, I probably spend no time on thinking about the competition. I don't have enough of it. I don't have enough time. Like just literally before you and I got on this call, I had a meeting with kind of my internal sales team. And after we finish, I think I have a meeting with my content creator. I have a meeting with my video. Like it just goes on and on and on. The competition, there'll be always people that have more than me. There'll be always people that have less. I'm grateful and blessed to have what I have, which in turn, I know gives me more.
Yeah, you're totally right. I totally agree. I get that question as well. Like, the competition, like, what do you think about this competitor? And it's like, honestly, like, yeah, you're mindful of what's going on in your market, but at the end of the day, you're just focused on providing value to your clients and like potential clients. And like the rest is just noise. It doesn't matter, right?
One thing that we added, and I say it on podcasts and videos and our organization, Royal LePage Signature, which is the franchise, is 1,000 realtors deep. They ask us to come in and speak about some of the stuff that we are up to. So about a year and a half ago, I should say, to be exact, we added a real estate concierge division to our organization. And so it allows our clients now to have access to a concierge, Tyler, who's kind of also my air traffic control guy. They can call him, email, text him and say, look, I have a lease agreement that I'm doing in downtown Toronto. I need a plumber. I need an electrician. I need a painter. And Tyler's job, or they can also say, just to add to it, there's someone in Saskatchewan I need a mover in Saskatchewan. His full-time job is to go find a mover in Saskatchewan, a place that we don't do really any business in, just to add that value-added service to our clients, and we don't charge anyone for it. It's absolutely free. It's been one of the biggest game changers in our business, because what he does is he'll call our clients, those are like the REC insiders, every quarter, and just say, hey, Costa, I'm checking in on you, man. Did you need anything from me today from a real estate perspective? No, Tyler, I didn't need anything. Or Tyler, my cousin needed a painter in Vancouver. He'll go and find that person. Now that I have you on the phone, Costa, did you have an appetite for another investment property? It revolutionized our business.
Yeah, that's huge.
And it costs a lot of time and effort and money because he's off. Because he's doing that, he's not able to do anything else. That's his full-time job. And if I show you, like he's just right across me, so I'm looking at him, he's waving his hands, he's on a phone call, doing the same thing right that I'm talking about. But it, again, allows us to be slightly different than whatever else is in the marketplace. Now, I never thought that somebody else was doing that. It literally just came into my head. I have a team member, Laura, who's our director of sales and marketing. She used to work for a concierge service, and like a traditional concierge service. And I was like, hey, that would be kind of cool if we can add that to our to our organization. And like I said, it literally changed our business.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Yeah, it's all about adding the value added services, and those definitely go a long way. What do you say to the agents who say, like, you know, they're new, they're just starting out, they don't have a team, they don't have the time to produce all this content and do all this stuff, or like don't have the money to hire people, et cetera, et cetera? I'm sure you get that question a lot, but like, what do you say to those people? Like if someone wanted to start producing all this content and like work on their branding, how can they realistically start?
So the first thing I would say is that you're already starting off on the wrong foot, Mr. and Mrs. New Agent, because you came to me with all the things that you can't do. Let's start with the right mindset and say, okay, look, this is what I want to do. And we know it's been done before. You used the word earlier. I use it 40 times a day. Let's reverse engineer it now and just work backwards from there. So you can make time. You can build a team. You can hire people. We're not saying you need to do all this all in one day. Rome was not built in one day. This is going to take some time. You have to have lots of patience. But if there's someone who just got their license yesterday, I think the best advice I can give you is right now, like even stop listening to this podcast. I'm sorry, Costa, you're going to lose a listener or a viewer, but stop listening or watching and find yourself an assistant. That is by far the biggest tip I can give you. And I'll tell you why. Because most people say, I can't afford to do it. No, you cannot not afford to do it. Because once you have an assistant, you've now bought back 40 hours of your time every single week. And here you can get a very, very qualified assistant. I don't know which marketplace you're in, but you can pay someone $16, $17, $18 an hour. Okay? By them helping you do a lot of the work that you really shouldn't be doing. Because in this business, and more, I know you have some mortgage brokers that listen and watch because our businesses are so similar. There's really only two things you should be worried about every single day. It's just, how are you going to meet people and how are you going to help them buy, sell, or invest? Everything else at some point needs to be delegated out. And so, for example, my assistant allows me to do so much more. Get on a phone, Zoom call and do a podcast with you. Do more of the higher level conversations with our clients. But so you're going to pay $16, $17 an hour. Let's call it $30,000 a year. Understand that the average person knows 200 people. So if you add the assistance network into your database now, chances are they're going to come in with them knowing 200 people. At 200 people, let's just use a very low return on the investment of, let's say, 5%. I usually work off of anywhere 10 to 12%, but let's say 5%. You bring in 200 people. That's 10 deals that you should get either referred to you or out of that assistance network should do deals. 10 deals in any marketplace is close to 100, like $10,000 gross commission. Let's work off of a lower number at 7,000. That's $70,000 you just added to your income for the year. You paid them $30,000. You netted out $40,000, and you also got back 40 hours of your life. So, for example, I haven't been on MLS for 4 to 5 years. I have not signed on MLS for 4 to 5 years. I don't even have a laptop, Costa. I haven't touched a laptop in 2 years.
Wow.
Get what I'm saying? I like all the content that we produce. It's produced by, like, it's made by me, but all the rest of the team, it puts it together, does all the editing. But going back to a newer agent, now you have that extra 40 hours. So when you get a phone call from a client that says, Costa, how do what's the closing cost for a lawyer? You're going to answer that question via call, text, or email, and then you're going to shoot a piece of video answering that question. Hey guys, just got a call from my client. You don't need to say the name. And they were asking what's the closing cost. Well, the closing costs in Toronto when you're buying a new home are X and Y. You have the video. You can also rip up the audio and just make it into a podcast. A podcast doesn't need to be like this. It doesn't need to be 30 minutes. I do 3-minute audio clips every single day. They're just like literally value-added clips. You then can write the exact same answer from your video and put that out on LinkedIn, put that on medium.com. Not a lot of people know medium.com has 150 million users every single month. Now, with that one call that you had to take or that text from a client, you just repurposed it to 4 different pieces of micro content. Yeah. See, the question is not that if we have the time or not. The question is, do you want to make the time? Do you believe in yourself to go get that assistant before you're actually making any money? And guys, whoever is listening, getting an assistant is not you have to. If you're serious, if you're part-time in this business, I'm not speaking to you. If you're full-time getting into this business, the first thing that you need to do is get an assistant. I haven't even printed anything in the last 5 years. Why would I do that? I need to think about ideas and ways of getting not one person to meet with me one-on-one, but how am I going to get 30 people in a room? Because when I talk to them on how to buy, sell, and invest, me speaking to one person or 30 people, it's the exact same thing. It's going to take the exact same amount of time. Now, if I can get 30 people in a room, chances are 3 to 5 are going to do a transaction just out of that room. You need to make the time.
I love it. Yeah. Everything you're saying, it's honestly so simple, so logical, but it goes back to the first thing you said, and it starts with your mindset. And I think
everything right in here. I think the biggest limitation
people have is right here. It's in their own mind, and it's just escaping that and just thinking very, very logically.
And I'm not audacious enough to think that somebody's going to listen to this podcast and change their life, but we all grew up with limiting beliefs, right? And all different ones, right? Like money doesn't grow on trees. Who do you think you are? That's one that a lot of us heard. And so don't waste it. Don't spend. People think getting an assistant is a waste of money because we're like, well, you can do that stuff. But we're talking business. You can't be doing that type of stuff. You cannot, right? You need to think of ways of how to, and as I mentioned earlier, what really revolutionized our business was doing events. Because instead of meeting people one-on-one, I love having a couple of drinks on a Wednesday or Thursday night. A glass of wine, I probably go more towards the vodka and soda, a glass of scotch. And I said, look, why don't we just do that on scale? So we just started putting on events. And some of our events have absolutely nothing to do with real estate. We actually do something called REC Pub Nights, where we just invite people to a bar and have some beers. I think it has more to do with the fact that I didn't go to university, so I never went to those pub nights. And so now I want to start my own. And so we started doing REC Pub Nights and just doing events, just bringing people, because inevitably they'll always ask the question, how's the market? What's happening in real estate? So it doesn't always have to be about the 5 top mistakes that investors make. It doesn't have to be always real estate related.
For sure. It's a relationship business at the end of the day, right?
And that's why I say the only 2 things that a new realtor or a seasoned realtor needs to get back to is thinking about how can you meet more people and just help them buy, sell, and invest. Everything in between should be delegated out. And I can tell you, I make more money now than I've ever had with having more payroll. I've never had this type of payroll. I have 10 people on staff that get their paycheck every 2 weeks. But I'm doing a lot more deals because I can just get so much more done. And it also gives me time to think about the bigger ideas. Like, okay, in 2 years, I want to be on stage talking about something, or I'm in the process of writing a book. And my ghostwriter said, you don't give me any time anymore to even write this book, because our deadline was at the end of 2020. And she mentioned, the way that you're going now, we're not going to finish this. So I had to literally revamp my schedule just to make sure I got in 3 days a week, first thing in the morning when we were both we're a lot more creative at that time. But it allows me to do that because I don't have to worry about an email going out. I don't have to worry about phone calls going out. I don't have to worry about the video editing. I do need to shoot the video, but this podcast, I'm going to split into probably 15 micro pieces of content, minimum.
Yeah, love it. That's amazing. I'm curious to hear your perspective on this. So real estate, as you know, it's a very high turnover business. Like a lot of agents come in and go, as I'm sure you've seen over the years. I can see a lot of people get into real estate, especially in the GTA, just thinking it's something to make some quick money, being one of the hottest markets in the world, and just seeing, this bull run for the last couple of decades, if not more, and just people making money. But those people soon realize that shit, this isn't easy as I thought. I got to put in a serious amount of work to be successful in real estate. So that causes turnover and people give up easy. But I think fundamentally that comes from people simply just not having patience. And something I always say, people nowadays, you're just seeing more and more of it. Just people want to get to the finish line without running the race. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I see it and hear it all the time, not only from people in the business, but even investors. Specifically in the GTA, how do I make the quick buck? Well, real estate investing just doesn't allow for that. Real estate is the get rich slow process. There is no get rich quick scheme in real estate investing. From a business perspective, I've yet to come across any business that where the owner, the founder, didn't have to put in a lot of time. I just don't get what the rush is. See, maybe it comes down to the fact that 50 years ago, 70 years ago, being 50 years old meant you're old. Being 50 is nothing now. We're living, the expectancy is for both males and females has shot through the roof, right? I think the average male now lives to 87 or something like that, right? And so at 50, you still have a good 25 years, half of what you've already done. Right. Yeah. So at 38, for example, I know I got 2 more lives still left. Knock on wood. Right.
Yeah.
Now knowing that, the second I really, really, really understood that, I was I got 2 more lives left. Okay. Everything can take some time now. So I had on Friday and here I'm taking it down to the micro level, because I have staff, I have to deal with my staff's life problems as well, because that's just normal. I had one of my staff and I needed him last week, Thursday, couldn't come in. He was feeling sick. I had someone today, first thing in the morning, my copywriter needed him. He's not coming in. He's feeling sick. Instead of me thinking, holy crap, my staff's letting me down, it was well, if they get well, they're going to produce a lot better later on. All my guys and gals go through their own personal stuff, but I have the patience. I got a lot of time left. And so when you come to the realization that you have another life left, you have 2 years, even if you're 65, you still got another good 15, 20 years left. Imagine what you can do with that time.
Yeah, you're totally right. I totally agree. And I think that's why you're seeing a lot of these online courses now that people are just eating up, make $1 million in 30 days. It's there's no substitute for that hard work and that grind, like you said. You know what?
Also, I even in my business, I see, and I get asked a lot. In fact, a DM came in today to my team saying, do you have a course on mentoring investors? 2 days ago, I got one from a realtor saying, hey, do you have a coaching? I'm no, just go to the podcast. I've given everything that I know. In fact, some people would say, Jas, you could tell if they unfollow you or something, or they'll leave me a comment dude, you're just always talking about the same stuff. I know, but I'm not going to talk about things I don't know. And so I don't knock anybody for monetizing or even within my team. They're hey, Jas, should we start selling this course? And I'm no, what are we going to do? Sell a $19.99 a month course or $100 a month course? To me, it's short term. I want to build up a lot more brand and authority, and then I can ask. Right now, I don't have the what to even ask yet, because I don't believe I've given enough value yet. I'm in the process of it. That I know, and I'm just going to wait as long as I possibly can. I think where I might win is that I'm willing to hold my breath longer than most other people, because the truth of the matter is I'm from Rexdale. Like, we had nothing, like we grew up with not a lot. Like, I have two older brothers. My parents gave as much as they possibly could, but like, all this is way more than I ever dreamed of. And so now I can wait. Now I can really, really wait. And I actually think that's what really makes me very, very deadly in the business world, because I think I'm going to be able to give a lot, because now my team, like, the culture is spreading. I'm watching it, where my director of sales and my director of concierge services, they spend more time with my new interns and my new executive assistant than I do about talking about culture. Now it's starting to spread. Now I think we're going to become really, really deadly in the next 2 to 5 years.
Love it.
And if it doesn't happen, who cares? Like at the end of the day, there's a lot worse that can happen, right? So it's really hard to kind of screw with my mindset, because I'll just take it right back down to like, well, I'm eating. Like, I can, at lunch, I'm probably going to buy a lunch that's $12, $13. Like, there's people that don't have food. You know what I mean? Like, it's really, really basic to me.
For sure. Yeah, I love it. You've been in the real estate business a long time. 15 years, you said?
15 years at sales and service for 25 years, yeah.
Okay, perfect. So a lot of the listeners on this podcast are newer agents. So like, if you had to pinpoint maybe 2 or 3 characteristics or traits that make up a successful realtor, in your opinion, what would those be?
I think you need to smile. Because I speak to a lot of people on the phone, and you can hear a smile through a phone call. Like, I'm a true believer of it. And so you have to have a positive outlook, right? And even on days that are tough, you need to know that the sun will come out the next day, and there's some hard times, and there might be a time where you go into multiple offers, you lose a multiple offer bid for your buyer. You go in for a listing appointment, you don't get the business, you don't get the listing. You just got to keep on going. You have to persevere. So number one is mindset. Going back to that, your mindset is that once you know that you're going to make it happen, you can become very, very unstoppable. You got to put in the work. You got to put in the work. This is not a job or a business where you can put in 3-4 hours a day. It doesn't need to be 13, 14 like I do, but there has to be somewhere in the middle there. And then I think third is be okay with letting go of business. Stop chasing your own tail. You don't have to go right across the greater Toronto area. There is riches in the niches. Do just condos in Liberty Village. Become the expert. Become the known person. It might take 2-3 years to build that brand and that authority, but be okay to let go business. I have let go of clients because what they were looking for was unreasonable, or we just didn't jive, and life's too short for that, man. Like in that aspect, life's too short for that. Like, let it go. And what happened is I actually got more business in because I was willing to let some of that business go. Yeah,
that's an important one, letting go of business. I also would throw in, I've seen a lot of realtors almost be entitled, just because they have a family member or a friend that they think they're entitled to get their business. And they get angry and upset, and relationships are, ruined. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, look, it comes down to one thing for me. I live by the principles of plenty when it comes into any sales. As I mentioned, sales and service, 25 years. I knew that I needed to knock on as many doors as I possibly can when I was selling the Toronto Sun. And I knew majority of people were going to say no, but it was just a matter of time until someone said yes. At the bank, the job was taking inbound calls, so you would call to pay your bill. But me having a job there was based on the fact if I could talk to you about setting up a line of credit, a mortgage, a loan. It was a matter of me just asking enough people. The bank was it was a lot easier because I took in 100 calls a day, and that was just me. In car sales, you need to speak to enough people to get someone to purchase a car. Real estate is no different. Yeah. You need to always have 10 working files, in my opinion. So when you're starting out, so you just got your license today, you're going to get You're going to find that agent, that assistant, as I mentioned, and then your job is to have 10 working files with you at all times. What do I mean? 10 buyers, sellers, or investors. And when one buys or one says, because they bought with their cousin, Charlie, then you're okay. You still have 9 left. Your job is to get the 10th. So you're always just thinking about principles of plenty, because it doesn't matter if 1 or 2 drop out, you have enough. I've been there. I've been there when my first blood cousin in my first 2 years of the business used me to actually use my services to show him homes, but then always knew he had a property that he was going to buy privately. But he never told me that, and he did, and I was peeved. However, once I got over and understood, well, it's all my fault because I didn't give enough value. And now what do at that time, once I came to the realization, well, you know what? I just need more. I just need a Costa. I need a Tyler. I need a Laura. I need a Sham. I just need more buyers, sellers, and investors. When one drops off, it's okay. There's still another 9 to go.
Yeah, for sure. Love it. A couple more questions I have for you. I know we're running short on time. Sticking to that topic, though, in terms of characteristics and traits of a realtor, what about entrepreneurship? Do you think realtors should be entrepreneurs or have to be that business mind?
No, actually, I don't think you have to. However, to be the realtor, if you're going to be the head of your team or if you're just a realtor yourself, you have to have some type of entrepreneurial tendencies, because here's what it really comes down to. You need to have the stomach to hear all the no's. You need to have the stomach when you don't get a paycheck for 6 months. You can have a lot of empathy. You can be very happy. You can be very positive. But for me, what an entrepreneur has different, not better or worse, just different than other people in other industries, is having a stomach for it. Now, my director of sales and marketing, I always bring her up because she spends a lot of time with us, is she by trade, she had her MBA in marketing. She got her license to become a realtor in the luxury division. She tried it out for a couple of years and decided that she was a lot better in being a director, which helps our clients in the pre-construction stage go through the 10-day cooling period. She makes a lot more than I personally believe that she would have if she was just a realtor. Why? Because she added so much value, literally creating new systems for us. So you don't have to be an entrepreneur to be in the real estate business, because there's other roles that you can take on. But I think in my position, you need to be an entrepreneur. You have to have some entrepreneur tendencies, because you need to come up with the ideas. You need to create the ideas. You need to have the stomach for them when they don't work out, and then execute on those ideas.
Perfect. I want to ask you this, and it's interesting about technology and coming, hearing the answer from someone who doesn't even own a laptop, like you said. I want to ask you about technology. So how are you using, or how's your team using technology in your business, and how do you see technology changing real estate in, say, the next 5 to 10 years?
Well, to answer your first question about how my team is using technology, I mean, they all have the most up-to-date laptops, and the media squad, the REC media squad has, I don't even know, these Apple computers, all that. They have all the up-to-date stuff, cameras. We have 4 or 5 cameras. We have wireless mics. I personally use a Samsung Note because it just made my life very, very easy. We chat. All of our chats and our workflows are all done through WhatsApp. We send all of our drive links. So my team will post-produce from a content perspective, and then just send me a Google link drive with all the content that I can pick and choose for whatever I feel like to use in that specific day. So our team uses technology every single day. How's it going to change the real estate industry? It's already changed it. There's companies out there that only help buyers and sellers through online services. And it's going to come more. There's going to be more of it. I do think, though, there still will always be a place for high touch sales, really in any industry, real estate, car sales, insurance, because people when they're spending that type of money, they need to feel and touch a person. Now, what technology does is cut out kind of the middleman. So if you're not offering high-end service, then you might be out of the business because technology will just get rid of you. You're not needed because you're not offering anything that's much more valuable. And so there's already online brokerages that are around, some that have come and gone and some that are still here. And look, if you don't think that Jeff Bezos is sitting somewhere right now thinking about how to take over the real estate industry, you're naive. Like, this guy is the best business mind of all time, arguably speaking. And the one that he's somewhat touched in over in the stateside, he's gonna figure this out because he's done it to every other industry. So if he can take over the bookstores, don't worry, he's coming into the real estate.
Yeah, you answered the next thing I want to ask is about the human element of real estate, and do you think that will ever go away? But
yeah, look, I don't it possibly will unless you offer high value service. So what does that mean? Like, get back to your clients. So to the newer realtors, don't be surprised if you call another realtor, they don't get back to you for a couple of days. That's just known in the business. But you got to make sure you get back to your clients. Don't be pushy. Like, don't be a pushy salesperson. Offer them extra services that might cost you money, but in turn they'll come back to you to do more business. So look, I don't think that there's going to be a point in time where realtors are not needed.
Yeah, I agree. I'm with you there. Jas, we're a little bit over time. I want to be mindful of your time. I do end off each chat with what I call the top three.
Awesome.
Ready?
Yeah.
All right. Number one, you mentioned one earlier, but your favorite book or audiobook?
7 Habits of Highly Effective People by the late, great Stephen Covey. Read this book about 11 years ago, 12 years ago. Just changed my outlook on so many different things. It is not only the book for entrepreneurs, it's the book for any human being.
I agree. It's one of my favorites as well. Number 2, your favorite vacation spot?
Other than my couch after a long, hard day of work, I would say Jamaica. Just got back there got back from there a couple of weeks ago, but I've been there numerous amount of times. Love the weather, love the people, and more importantly, love the jerk chicken and jerk pork.
I love it. And lastly, if you can go back, what's the one thing you wish you knew when you were just starting out in real estate?
That I have a lot more time than I thought at that time.
Love it. Love it. Jas, thank you so much. This was a great chat. I'm so grateful and thankful that we were able to do this, and I hope we can chat again sometime.
We definitely will. Thank you so much for having me, Costa. And as I mentioned, if there's anything that I can do for your viewers or listeners, just tell them to reach out. And to you, Costa, keep doing what you're doing, my man.
Thank you. Thank you so much. All right, Jas, have a good one.
You too, buddy. Take care.
Take care. Bye. Thank you so much for listening to the Top Agent podcast by Web for Realty. By the way, we're providing exclusive promos to our listeners. Visit webforrealty.com/topagent and get your first month on us. That's webforrealty.com/topagent to get your first month of service completely free. Until next time, over and out. Peace.